Everybody. Thank you so much for being here today on Journaling with Intention. And let me know if how your day is going. So it's Mother's Day here for me in the United States. And of course, the way that I see that day is to that I can spend it however I want to spend it. And I'd like to be here and kind of setting up my journal and thinking about my week. And my word for the week for us to kind of think through is a word that I've been talking about a lot in my regular job, and that happens to be regulation. And we think about, at least in education, we talk about students being dysregulated. So they're not really able to focus and really think about things. So that's what I want. That was something that I was going to think about this week is May. I know there's a term going around right now called Maycember, which is kind of like May is kind of like December because it's like this ending, but then beginning of the year. And so that's something that I'm kind of been playing around with a little bit because May tends to be like this really, really kind of crazy month. So this word of regulation in the sense that we can be dysregulated. And when you're dysregulated, it's really hard to kind of think and to pause because you end up being in a very reactive state. And so when we think about intention, that's trying to get us to regulate so that way you can think about things and process them instead of always trying to be reactive. So I'd love to know kind of if that word merit, like if it kind of resonates with you. And I'm just so excited that you guys are here. I see Melly is here and Tracy and Nancy and Anne. And I am so excited for you guys to be here. Thank you so much for checking in. And I know some of you had a great day yesterday, and I saw you, at our retreat. We had a lovely, lovely time, and that was nice. Yes, Tracy, that kind of regulate. So, regulation in terms of your emotional regulation. Are you emotionally regulated? Because otherwise, it gets to be kind of hard as you move through your day if you're not emotionally regulated. When things come up and annoyances come up and things where you just don't really feel, you kind of walk through this state where you're constantly battling, and that's not super healthy for you. And it's a hard place to be because you're always reactive to things. So instead, you want to be thinking about what are the things that I can to regulate. So that had me thinking about my journal and how I was going to set it up. And I'm going to do a little quick, I'm going to be quick today because I have that kind of like extra thing that I do, but I'm just going to set up my journal because I want to set it up a little bit different today so I can think about that regulation and have those kinds of things built in. And yes, Tracy, yeah, that's exactly it. That amygdala, yes, we think about it in terms of that fight or flight syndrome, that if you're constantly in a reactive state, then you're constantly in fight or flight. So then you don't have that ability to process and then handle emotions, or when anything gets thrown at you, which is constantly, if anything that gets thrown at you, then it's a hard time to handle it. And in school, we think about that as we want students to be as much as they can their authentic selves. And so if you kind of walk through where, you're constantly being challenged or constantly being checked, then it's really hard to not be reactive. And so that's what we think about things and have motivation to do anything. So that's kind of the check for today. So I'm going to go ahead and pan my camera down. And I wanted to go through, especially if we have some new people, I wanted to go through, and I was messing a little bit. My light is not working today. So I might be a little dark, which I'm not happy about. Oh, guess what? Yay, it's working. It magically fired. I don't know why. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and come on down into my workspace. So I'd love to know if you're thinking, so I'm going to change up kind of my spaces. I also want to show you and share with you what we did last week, because that's something that I think would help. So of course, we're in the month of May, and we have our May intention. So this was the sheet that we did with washi tape. And then these are my sites of May. I added in some other things and some soccer stuff. I did that last week. And I didn't take a lot of pictures this week because I think I was indoors. So unfortunately, I don't have as many pictures to share. But I started adding this blooming tracker. I really like the blooming tracker because it makes me kind of force me to like go outside and have some fun. But that's something that I want to keep on doing. And then I was also thinking, this was my last week. This was what I had done, and I didn't really fill this in because I wasn't regulated, to be perfectly honest. And then this is what we ended with. This is where I used the Swamp Buttercup and did a really, really soft stencil in the background. And then we used that in order to make this top-down graphic organizer, that whatever it is that you're looking for, that's here. I might actually do this with you today because yesterday's retreat really had me thinking about organization in my craft room. And I need a little help there, guys. I think we all do, but I got a little stuck. I started to look around and, because I don't always want to be in my craft room because sometimes it's disorganized. And so that makes it hard for me to think. So that was one thing. So I think I might do that today, but I'm definitely going to I'm going to set up my pages for this week. And I can't believe that we are already halfway through May. We are coming up to week 3 in May with 2 more to go after this week. And so we are the week of the 15th through the 21st. And I have a purple marker in my hand, so I think I'm going purple. All right. So let me know, what are you doing? How are you doing? What are your ways to regulate? Like if you ever happen to feel dysregulated, what are your ways that you use in order to regulate? What do you do? All right. So I'm going to go purple today. So I'm going to grab some of my purples with these Flair pens. Still love these pens. And May is so nice because you have all of these wonderful colors that you can bring in and play with. And I can't believe that we are going to be at week 18 next week. Kind of nutty, in my opinion. All right, now I'm just grabbing some washi tape. Again, I don't so plan for this, so I'm just going to grab this. This is really cute washi tape. God knows where I got it from. But I'm going to put this in. It says dream, believe, wish, imagine. So cute. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this in here for that. So let me know, how is it that you end up regulating? And we can think about regulating as self-care. That's one way to think about it. Whatever you need to do, it might be breathing, it might be yoga, it might be doing a little like going out for a walk. But how is it that you get yourself back in and regulate yourself? Crafting, that might be it. It might be crafting. That if you give yourself that time to just be and be creative, that might be something that you do. All right. So let me know. All right. So I got my first little page, and then I'm going to bring out my handy dandy stencil, my color swatches stencil, which I still don't think is in stock at Altenew, but I'm going to bring in my stencil. And I'm just going to set up my page. I'm liking the format. I just got to use it this time. That's the key. So I'm liking my format. So what I've switched over to is I have these larger blocks for each of the day, where I had much smaller blocks, but I had these larger blocks. So I really like those. And I'm adding those in for that. So I need my ruler for there. Oh, that's a great idea, Tracy. So you kind of have like a little countdown. What is it that you see and hear and smell? Yeah. So you're kind of starting to be present, like what the heck is around you. That's a really good idea. Sometimes I have to walk away. I need to go up and talk to a friend. That always helps. So I will go out and I'll be like, I'll talk. I'll just get up. I actually had a colleague do that this week, where he just walked out of the office and just kind of came down to my classroom and talked to me and was just like, hey, I just need to get out. Just need to talk to somebody. That's all I need to do is just talk. And I said, no problem. So we hung out for a little bit and it was neat. And it was just nice to have that and just know that you're a support for somebody too. That's always a nice thing, I think. Oh, that's a good idea, Anne. Anything that changes your focus. Sometimes we do get really narrow focus, don't we? And that's always difficult because then you are thinking about that. And so kind of get out of your own head, get out of your own way. I like that, Anne. That's a really great idea. EMDR. All right, Amy, I will look it up. Absolutely, Tracy. Thank you for sharing that one. I will look that up. It's something that I try to do with students as well when I have them in class. I actually, when we take a test, I put on YouTube, and I let them choose, and I'm like, do you want nature stream, or do you want fireplace, or whatever the heck it is? So they actually choose, and they're like, oh, so in the wintertime, we usually go with fireplace. And I put that on while they take the test. So that way, if they need to take a brain break, they can kind of look up, get themselves set, and then go back to whatever it is that we're doing. So I'll do that a lot. Yes, Nancy. You know what? It's funny. I had the kids, they took their AP biology test. So it's a big, huge test. And I told them afterwards to go walk down to the center of town and go get an ice cream. And there was a whole bunch of them that did that, thank goodness. A lot of kids, they couldn't. They had sports and they had a whole bunch of things that they had to do. But I agree with you, Nancy. I call ice cream the perfect food. And what's your flavor, Nancy? What is your flavor? That's another one. Mine is definitely black raspberry. Greatest ice cream flavor. Don't know what it is because I don't know what a black raspberry is. I actually looked it up. There are actually black raspberries. They are not blackberries. There's actually black raspberries. But of course, I'm in like the berry capital of the United States over where I live. Okay, there we go. All right, so I just do this. So what I have here is I just have 7 little sections that represent each of the days of this week. And then I just start to fill that in. And I like to use a lighter color just so that way it's not distracting with what I'm about to put in. And oh, thanks, guys. Yes, black raspberries with dark chocolate. Yes, dark chocolate chip, black raspberry dark chocolate chip. That is great. And I feel like, school is a lot of stress, but, we say that we're preparing students for the world or for kind of moving, how are they going to be adults? And so we give them stressful situations, but you also have to help them with the coping skills in order to manage those stressful situations, or else you just get into patterns and you're always managing it the same way. And then you don't learn until it's too late. And that's not okay. So you have to kind of think about that. All right. So I always have a section in here that's looking back or to move ahead. So this is looking back to move ahead. This is a little technique we do in school as well when we do review, is we look back. So we take a moment to kind of reflect on what we learned, and then we use that information as we move over to the next unit or whatever the heck it is that we're done. I really like this washi tape. It's really pretty, and it really kind of sets off this color scheme nicely. All right, so now I'm going to move over here. This is where I'm going to make change. I'm going to change it up, and I have not changed up this side for quite some time. So this is my time to do it. So there's a couple of things that I like that I'm going to keep, and one is my mood tracker. I like my mood tracker, and I really even like my bloom tracker right now. So I'm really enjoying both of those things. So I'm going to keep those two things, which means that I'm going to put this, if you will, into 2 columns. So I'm going to start with my light purple. It's like a lilac, which are blooming all over the place right now. And I'm just going to put this up as high as I can go. And this right here is going to be my mood tracker. And then over here is going to be my bloom tracker. And I haven't organized this. I'm just kind of bebopping this off of my the top of my skull right now. But so this is my mood tracker. Usually I take up a little bit more space, but I'm going to just take up smaller amounts of space because I have an idea for what I want to do for the bottom of this. All right, so that's 4. So I need 7. So I'm going to get 3 more. So just drag that down. And then I just draw in the next 3. All right, so that is both of those. School teachers would call that witchcraft here. Probably, Tracy. That's why I don't teach in Florida. School for us gets out June 22nd, I think. I think it's June 22nd. We had one snow day. But we also start after Labor Day, so that we start a little bit later. All right, so this is my mood tracker. And I love that. That's been really helpful. I really do appreciate, even if I don't feel like filling anything in, I do really fill this one in. And I just put all of these dates in. And you could put Monday, Tuesday, all the way you want, but however it is that you want to organize this. But I really think this is really helpful, because sometimes I'm dysregulated. I don't know why, but at least I can see that there's a pattern. Get out this week? Oh, that's because they start in August, right, Tracy? They start in August down where you are. We don't do that. We start after Labor Day because, we get such a short season for it actually being nice where I live. All right, so normally what I have down here is I have graphs, and I'm going to do that. But one of the things that I want to do is I wanted to try to represent in some way my regulation. So I wanted to have like a regulator tracker, and I was like, how the heck do I do that? So instead of being where I feel dysregulated and then try to get regulated, if that makes sense. And I'm gonna go back in the past a little bit. And we have made a couple of lists here of ideas and things to keep us regulated. And do you guys remember this list or this grouping? So we did this in order to help us to stay grounded. So this to me is like the regulated list. So all the things that you may do to help yourself to feel regulated, we wrote that down. And you might want to call this be kind of yourself, like I put here. Thinking about your own self. This might be your way to, whatever it is that you want to do. But by not doing these things in a regular way, then that's how we get dysregulated. And if you are dysregulated, you're not in a place to take care of yourself. So then you cannot take care of others. And so, like we said, you end up being reactive instead of being proactive. So this is proactive. So I have not been doing these things. So I want to have some sort of tracker that tells me, okay, you have to do this. And I have to say, I've been really enjoying having these graphs, because the graphs have been helping me to track. Because all I got to do is put a dot in. I don't want to do a lot of work. And so especially I got too much to do. So especially with something like this, I don't want to have to sit here for a half an hour or an hour and try to fill in everything that happened in my day. I want to put a dot in. I want to make a smiley face, and I want to go to bed. And so I want to make something a little bit easier in this way. So I'm going to add in, I know, exciting. And I was thinking that this might look good as a graph. But by doing this as a graph, it's a little bit hard because of the fact that normally I put a dot in, but those things that I regulate, they might be a little different. So I'm going to do a regulation graph. So what am I going to do? I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than I normally do, because I want to be able to write a word instead of just put a dot in. And I'm going to ask myself, how much time am I spending? Because a lot of times for regulation, you don't need a lot. Like when my colleague came in to talk to me, he was there for, 10 minutes. So it's not like I have to spend hours crafting. I might just go in and just sit in my craft room and just stare at it. Sometimes that's regulating. Honestly, I just, let's face it, we all happen to attract craft supplies. So I might just sit here and stare at the rainbow of paper, and that makes me feel really good. So that's what I want you to do, is just think about, what am I doing for regulation? And then how long do I really need to do it for? Because you really don't need to do it for that long, to be perfectly honest. All right, so I am going to have some weird glue on there. I am going to make a graph, but I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger, which is why I didn't put in the normal amount of washi tape that I put in on this side. And I'm going to sketch this out with my pencil just in case if I mess it up. So that's what I do here. All right. Wow, I was just seeing what you put in there, Nancy, about the kids starting in August. Be off for state admission day. Yeah. I think I don't know why it happened. That seems to be a kind of a larger shift that's happened. I know in Massachusetts, most of the schools, some of them are in August, but it's like the very, very last part of August. All right, so I'm going to make just a really, really small graph. And I will say they had the kids do a graph on the AP biology exam this year. My kids did okay, so I have to go back and teach them better graphing skills. All right, so what I have here is I'm actually going to track minutes on this side, and these are going to be my days of the week, but I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. So I'm going to do, in fact, I'm going to lightly trace these in just so I can see them a little bit better. This is why we use pencil, folks. Because as we kind of think through those ideas, sometimes they shift and change. Pencil is a good thing. Okay, here we go. That's better. So I'm going to turn these. I think I'm going to make 2 of these. I'm just going to lightly draw lines in because I have this dotted notebook, which is fabulous, but I can't always line up exactly what the lines are. There we go. That's 2. I hope this is enough. 2. And 1, 2. There we go. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to keep these as pencil lines. And then I'll fill this in with color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. So I'm making a little tiny bar graph here. I'm going to show you what I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 1, 2. All right, I don't love how far out this is going, but I actually think it's going to end up being okay. And 7. All right. All right, so let me show you what I'm going to do. So let me erase the top of this just to make sure that this is flush to where I want it to be. And I'm going to come in with my pen now. So I'm going to switch over to this dark purple. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the days of the week. And what I've done is I've taken like 2, these are pretty narrow. So I made it kind of a larger bar graph. So here's our Monday. And so this is 5/15, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'll just put like every so often I'll put the days of the week because I think if I did it every single day, it gets a little crowded. 19 and 21. Okay. So there we are. So for our thing. Now on this side, what I am tracking is I am tracking my minutes of regulation. Now that means that it's an activity that I'm pursuing that is off of that list that I made way back when. So my little grounded list. And I'm going to do one of these things for a period of time. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So here is my minutes of regulation. You could call this self-care. You can call this whatever the heck you want to, but this is kind of my word for the week is regulation. Now that I have that, and I'm just going to show you how I'm going to fill this in. And I just realized I don't have colored pencils, but I am going to, actually, I think I might have colored pencils. I have colored pencils hiding. Believe it or not, these are a long time ago. All right, so what I'm going to use is colored pencils, and I like colored pencils because I can go really light with them, and I don't have to go kind of crazy with them. So I'm going to grab my red, and I know that I am with you guys for a good hour. So I'm going to put this into 10-minute increments. So here is, I'm going to go 2 up. So here's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and that's 80. All right, so that goes up to 80 minutes. Now, I know I'm going to be hanging out with you guys next Sunday, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to color in here that I'm going to spend 60 minutes with you guys next week. And I lost my ruler. So next Sunday. So I'm going to go right up to this line. And what I love about the fact that I'm lightly coloring in colored pencil is I'm going to come in with a corresponding color in my pens, and I'm going to put in journaling live stream. Okay. So I am now putting that in. I think 10 minutes is pretty sufficient. So totally. And this is something, so there we go. So 10 minutes, that's why I wanted to do it in 10-minute increments, because I think 10 minutes is probably a good bare minimum. So if I put 10 minutes of watercolor, or I put that I'm doing 30 minutes of coloring, or even if I just sit in my craft room or I go and I talk to a friend, I'm going to color that. And you're going to end up with all of these little colors, and then you can add in and write over that what it is that you did for that time. If you want to, if it's too small, I can use this side to make a key. So that way I can remind myself of all of the things that I might want to do. In fact, I think I'm going to do that over on this side. Like I said, I wanted to this is my first time doing something like this, so I wanted to see what it looks like. So over on this side, I'm going to grab from my list of everything that I have over here, is I'm going to go ahead and add in what are the things that I might use to regulate. So I'm going to add in something like coloring, journaling, let's see, walking, talking with a friend, so those are some of the things that I'm going to do. That's like the toughest part about having a book like this, where the pages can't be moved out. I kind of like this here, and I don't mind it because this book is showing my journey, if you will, in chronological order. So I know that early in my journey, I started thinking about these things, which is why it's in the end of January, beginning of February. That's why this is here, because it's in that spot. And that's when I start to think about it. And we changed that up because we added in things that make me happy. These are things that you enjoy in life. And so I'm okay, Tracy. I don't think I have plans to move this. And that's why we added those little tabs in earlier, because I know that this is my page for that, right? So I can always go back there. And I can even refer to page 10 and go back there. I could, or I could just rewrite them near my chart. And that way, even just the ones that I want to focus on, because there's a lot here. I mean, I got 4 points times 4. So there's 16 things here that I could choose from. But maybe this week I only want to focus on 4. So I'm going to put those 4 here, and then I can make them different colors and then use that as a color table as I move through. And because I think focusing on 16 is too many, but these are going to be actual activities. Like something I've been here, I've reading, sleeping. I'm not going to put sleep on my list, but these are all things that I'm using to stay grounded. So I'm really thinking about terms of like activities that I'm going to do while I'm awake that are going to help to regulate my emotional state. So that's what I was thinking about that. And I think even just if I did these in different colors, I may just think over here, but if I could do a key on that side, I'm going to see how it works. I'm going to see how this works this week. and see how this goes and see what happens because I might change that up. But if you can imagine, I'm going to end up with all these little rainbow sections, and that's what's going to happen over here on this side. All right, so let me finish this up and get it to be a little bit prettier than it is right now. And I'm just going to grab some really thin washi because I want to separate out the top and the bottom part of this. So the trackers that are on top, I want to add a little bit of washi tape. So I'm just grabbing some purple thin washi tape, and I'm just going to put that in here. All right. Just to keep going with my soft purple theme. And this is nice because of the fact that it's this washi tape I can write on, which actually I'm going to be doing. And let me show you in just a second what I'm going to do. All right, so this I'm going to write on. Okay. And then, now that I have this, I had a little extra piece and I was like, ooh, what could I do with this? And I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm looking to see if I have purple. I have this dark purple, which is actually really nice. Just to kind of mix it up. This is really pretty. All right, so I'm going to take this and I'm just going to separate out because I want to give my bloom tracker a little bit of defined space so it's not all over the place. So I'm just going to grab this darker purple and put this in the middle. So it's abutting so I give a little bit more space for my bloom tracker. And it's going to abut right there. Beautiful. Very purpley today. Very purpley today. Okay. I like the purple. And I don't like this, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut this. Hopefully this works right on the edge here. There we go. So that looks right in there. So that gives me my bloom tracker. I have my mood tracker. So those two things. I know my peonies are going to come out this week, which is really exciting. They're coming along, and my magnolia is ready, and dogwoods are starting to come around for us. Crab apples just bloomed, and we have cherries just bloomed as well. But I don't have those in my yard, but that's going to come up. I'm probably going to change this out. Like I said, actually write down the things that I'm thinking about, and then I want to color code them. So that way I'll have like a little rainbow on this side. In fact, I think I'll do that right now because what I'm going to do is I am going to, let me grab a little piece of paper because I have to fix that because I can't go over it. That's all right. When you have a mistake in your journal, this is what you do. All right, so what I have here on the color swatches stencil is I'm actually going to use this right here as my key. So I'm going to come in and I am just going to go right ahead and outline these little things. This is the same one that I used for the mood tracker up here, and this is going to end up becoming my key. I'm actually going to think of, all right, give me more than 4 ideas. What else do I have more than 4 ideas? I have coloring. Oh, card making, right? So actually how about sending a card? That would be regulating. This, getting things off of my to-do list, that's regulating. All right, I'm going to come up with 7 ideas. All right. So using my colored pencils on these 7 ideas, I'm going to go ahead and color these in. So I already did one, which was my live stream. So I'm going to color that in pink. And then I'm going to go ahead in here and I'll do videos or live stream. You guys get to be in there. Meditative breathing. Oh, that's a good one. All right. Then after that is red. So I'm just going to make a little rainbow. And that way this will translate over to my chart, and I'll have a little rainbow. I'll have a little rainbow graph. All right, orange. And I'm trying to make these light. I don't want them to be too dark. All right, my yellow is broken. My yellow is broken. Okay, that's better. I think these are from my childhood, honestly. All right, yellow and then green. Ooh, I have this tealy green though. That's pretty. Green, blue. All right, dark green. And then blue. And finally purple. Okay. So let's see, we got meditative breathing. That's a good one. What else did I write on here? So we'll do journaling is orange. Can you guys see this? So that's what I'm doing. So I'm just writing right in there. So journaling is in there. I want to put in coloring. Here, I'll put coloring in purple. And the blue, I'll put meditate. Green, definitely walking. And that also is exercise. Yellow is not going to work if I do yellow on yellow. We all know this. I know you guys are telling me that. Ooh, this dark one would work though. So I also have talking. And finally, I'm going to do card making, crafting. All right, so that is my list. PT, yes. Have to do that anyway, Tracy. Got to do that. That is, I actually look forward to it. Somewhat, as much as you can look forward to that. So here's my little rainbow list, right? So I'm going to take this rainbow list and I'm going to cut this out. I'm just going to trim it and I'm going to put it on my thing. And I like doing this. You know, I try to do everything kind of on my little paper, but obviously I made a little boo-boo. So this is how you fix your boo-boo. Really, really simple. Especially when you're trying to not have it be crooked, because everything I do is crooked. Okay. So now I'm going to take this little die cut and I'm just going to stick it right here next to my piece. So just a little bit of glue. Piece of tape would be great for this. But I'm just going to go ahead and stick this right on. Thank you, Kathy. Gotta love a rainbow. Rainbows are the best. Okay, so this I'm just going to stick right on there. And that way I cover up my boo-boo. We never know that I wrote, excuse me, never wrote on that. And I have my page done. So let's kind of go over the things that we did. So I set up my page and I want to point out again that I do these differently. I really do them differently just about every week. I try something new. Maybe I keep stuff around for a week or so or a couple of weeks, but I do like to kind of flip them. And I made these a little bit bigger so I can add those pictures a day while I go on my walk. I have my little bloom tracker ready to go. So I put my list. This is actually helping me to think about things that I want to plant. My mood tracker's here. And then this new thing, which I have not given a title for yet. And this is a tracker for regulation. So we're going to call this the regulation tracker. And I'm going to put a little tiny little guy up here. Not in that color. All right. So very tiny little guy. And I'm going to go ahead and just put that in. So this is my regulation tracker. What am I doing to help regulate myself all the way through? Rainbows, yes. So, oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. All right, so I think that's dry. So I'm just erasing my lines here, trying not to, I probably should have let that dry more, but that's okay. All right, so that's my regulation tracker. So that is all set. So I'm just going to hold this up so you can kind of see it. So we have that minutes of regulation over on the side. We have our days of the week on the bottom, and 80 minutes. That's a lot. I'm probably only going to get, 10 or 20 of these small numbers, but that's okay. Again, the goal is just to try to get in the habit of doing something every day. And this is a way to keep track of how you're doing in that journey. So I wanted to flip back to here because last week when we talked, I showed you guys this top-down graphic organizer. And I wanted to, we had in our retreat yesterday, we talked a lot about ways to organize. And I have to say that's something that I am getting a little stuck with. And so I took a moment to think about my my craft room when we were on the retreat yesterday. And I was thinking about how I do a lot of things the way I've always done things. Probably should look at things, but I end up kind of having quite a bit of items, of craft items, and thinking about what do I need, what do I use, and how can I streamline things a little bit more. And I tend to hold on to stuff because I just don't know where its next step is. I know people are like, oh, I donate it or I give it away. I don't know who to give it to be perfectly honest. So I'm not sure how to go in there. Yeah, Venn diagrams are good but they compare typically one or two things. Always a good graphic organizer for that. But I'm actually going to stick with the top-down method. And I just put this away, and I should not have done that. So this one, I'm going to keep the same thing. And I am going to use that brown so it doesn't look so funky. So the pages kind of make a little bit more sense. And I'm going to keep this here. So what I'm doing is I am doing craft room organization. So when I think about craft room organization, how do you organize your supplies? Like, what are the 3 things that you do? Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, public school teachers, though, they have a lot of stuff. This is kind of like, I feel like what we have, like in terms of craft supplies, they do a lot of it. I have to say there was a woman in the district where I work, and she ran an after school club that was scrapbooking. Boy, so I told we have a scrapbooking group. I told all my friends who scrapbook with me, and man, I came in with bags of paper and just all stickers, all kinds of stuff for her. It was a lot. Yeah, these are all good things. Keep, toss, donate. That's what I'm kind of like. I have it and I'm like trying to figure out where the heck to go with the next thing. A lot of it's paper. So I know I can get rid of the paper easy. It's kind of all the stamps because those are always hard because we have these acrylic stamps. So you have to have a stamp block and then there's ink and other things with it. So when I think about craft room organization, what do we have? Well, we have paper. That is probably the biggest thing that we deal with, right? We deal with paper. And then, of course, the other thing we have is I don't know if I want to call like stamps and stencils and all kinds of those things. Those, like, what do we call that? Like that to me is a big grouping of one of those things. So that would be, I'll just name them all out. So stamps, stencils, and dies, right? That's to me is like stamps, stencils, and dies. And then the other part of it is like all of the media, right? That's the inks, anything for coloring, I don't want to put this in. Anything for coloring. So I'm thinking like inks and all the kinds of stuff like that. So now that I have this is like how I think of everything. Probably I'd make one more, which is embellishments. So that's all of our, like, you know, all those other little things that we do. So I'm actually going to make a list. So I'm going to put like a column here and then kind of put out what all of the pieces are. So for paper, this I kind of think about in two, maybe three categories. I think about paper in three categories. So I'm going to do three smaller little pieces here. And so I'm going to put this over to the side a little bit, if that fits. There we go. So 1, 2, and 3. So what I have for paper is I have 8.5 by 11. I have 12 by 12. And then I have specialty. I think I want to do smaller. Small. I'll put specialty. So specialty paper, like glitter paper, all kinds of things like that. Hi, Miss Tamp. How are you doing? Inks, aren't they the big issue? They are hard. And embossing folders. Yes, that's a good one. I'll put those up here. Embossing folders. Yeah. Tools. I didn't bring up tools, but tools I use all my tools. Those aren't that's usually not the stuff that I end up. I know I collect them, but I use my tools on there. All right. So now that I have these paper categories, I want to think about kind of moving on, but I'm going to leave that there. So I'm just identifying the pieces. So now I'm going to come over here. So we have a bunch of stuff here. So under this, I'm going to go ahead and put these all out. 2, 3, and 4. So I have stamps. So I have wooden stamps. I still have some. Anyone else got them? I have acrylic stamps. I have my dies. I have stencils. And then I have embossing folders. And I just realized, like, I really need to make like a page for each of these, which I think I'm probably going to end up doing, but in a future video. And embossing folders. And then we also have foils. I wrote foils by accident. Hi, Kathy. And foiling. All right, so that's all the stuff that I have there. And then for coloring, oh boy, are we ready for this one? What are all of our coloring media? I'm just going to keep going down with these boxes. You realize this, right? I'll make 2 more, but I know I'm probably going to need the whole row. All right, so we have dye inks, pigment inks, and then I find like things like embossing ink. Those are like specialty inks. All right, and then there's watercolor, colored pencil. All right, what am I missing? Colored pencils, watercolor. Is that it? Pens. Like pens, right? You know, like pens and specialty pens and stuff. Those things. Artist markers. Yes, alcohol markers. All right, one more. All right, markers. Pens, and then I'm going to do markers. Alcohol markers. And alcohol inks. So maybe I'll just do alcohol. I'll get rid of markers. Alcohol inks. Okay, I think this is a good start. The other thing that I would probably add in here is 6x6 papers, because I have those. Six by six papers. I have colored pencils. I have those down there. I have watercolor, specialty inks, pigment inks, and dye inks. Color pencil, pens, alcohol inks. All right, I think that's pretty good. The only other thing I don't have in here is I have a whole bunch of stuff like stickers and embellishments and things like that. So maybe I'll just make another grouping. I'm going to think about that. So what this is doing is it's kind of getting me to realize like what really is in my craft room. And I can add in a thing for tools. I can add in a thing for stickers. And then what I would do is make each of these larger boxes one page. And then in that one page, I can list out, well, what do I have? And then where should it be? Because I'm all about like, I really try to make my craft room where I have to walk to get something. I try to make it kind of interactive that way. And but I end up crafting in like a 2x2, like a 6-inch by 6-inch space. That's what happens is everything gets really, really small for me. So that's one thing that happens. Oh yeah, that's right. So, but that's under that specialty paper, right? Like we could pull that out and have watercolor paper and all those kinds of things so they can kind of go through. I have a lot of the 3x6 all to new paper, and I have that organized a nice way, but I have to kind of sit down and think about this. So I wanted to give you this as an idea for thinking about yourself and thinking about how you can use your journal in some different ways. So today we talked about regulation. And in that regulation, sometimes organization is fitting in there, right? Because we want to have that organization that will help us. So when I set up my tracker this week, that was different from my last week, is I feel good about, I've been tracking my water and exercise for a while. So that's starting to become part of my routines. So I'm going to switch over to my next intentions to start to put those into becoming my routines. And so by having this regulation tracker, I can think about all the things that I like to do that I'm not doing because I'm maybe making other choices, or sometimes I'm just kind of stressed. So I'm like, I don't have the wherewithal to sit down and focus on something else, but you kind of have to pull yourself out of that space. So that's why I'm setting this up a lot different, and I'll let you guys know how it is, right? But like I said, Kathy, I don't know if you missed it. I don't know if you were here, but I said sometimes to regulate, I just sit in my craft space and just look at rainbow paper. Like that's really sometimes what I do because it's pretty. I wanted to add in, I just got in the bicycle, the retro bicycle, because I thought this was really cute. I was going to stamp this out with the layers and add that in as a die cut down here just to give myself some space. But I think I need some space for some more categories, Sometimes I think I might need a little bit more, but I really like this little set because it's pretty cute. All right, I am going to sign off. I'm going to tell you that on my website, I have a class that I'm going to be teaching on the 21st of June that is now in the works. So you can see it on my website. I'm going to be playing around with the pens, with the Hawaiian Shore pens. We're going to be doing the little coloring, and we might be doing a little watercoloring with some pink to flowers. So that class is free. What you get out of that, I won't have it recorded, but you will get a PDF for what we do, and you get to hang out with me. Absolutely. Oh, did I open my kit? I only because I had to get the retro bicycle out of it. So, and I have to do that too, Nancy. I have buckets that I stuff in, and then that would be there. So, you don't know about my website? It's on. If you look, Tracy, in the YouTube description, and you scroll all the way down in the YouTube description, you'll see ways to contact me. And one of those is through my website, which is amyhillcreates.com. You can see it in the window of your screen. That is my website. And if you go to my website and you go to don't know if it's shopping or it's events, or it's not events. It's under like shopping or something like that. You'll see that I have one thing in my web shop, and that happens to be my class. So you can sign up, get me some information, and let me know if you want to be on my website newsletter. And I will have information that I will send out. But I will not. I promise I won't spam you because I hate that stuff. So, but any events that I have coming up, stuff that's happening, the live streams, things like that, feel free to check that out on that one. And Kathy, yes, we need to talk stones. Yeah, because I love stones. I definitely use some crystals, and I got my kids into looking at crystals too. And then I got Evan into geology a little bit because he was excited looking at a lot of different crystals for that one. So I'm going to come on up. I just wanted to say thank you guys for spending part of your day and part of your Mother's Day with me. I really appreciate your time. I hope this was helpful in order for you to think about yourself and how you regulate and how you move through your day and how you move through your week. And sometimes those little moments catch up. So if you find yourself really dysregulated by the end of the day, it might be a good idea to kind of think through your day and how are you building in those little tiny regulation moments. So that way you don't have a situation by the end of the day that you're feeling dysregulated, because that stinks, because then you end up being, like we said, you end up being reactive instead of maybe able to manage it. Because the stress, all the little nuancy stuff, that's going to happen. That's just life. And so, but you want to make sure that you're set up, that you've set yourself up in a place where you can manage all of those things that come your way. All right, I'm going to sign off. I will see you guys next week. I already put it in my journal. So we're going to be here next week at 3:00 Eastern, or for some of you, it might be 12, right, Nancy? And for Kathy, it's what, 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock for you? So, yeah, very cool, science educator. That's what we try. This is all of the neuroscience stuff. That's what we're talking about here. This is all neuroscience. All right, we will see you guys later, and I hope that you have a wonderful week. All right, thank you.